Welcome back to Series 23, everyone. This is the last episode of our Lancer series, and we are really excited to share it with you.
First, as usual, announcements.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like a principal because I'm sitting in front of a microphone, too. Oh, did your school do that? Like, ours just had, like, a beep. It didn't have the cool chimes.
I honestly don't remember.
Then why did you make that noise?
TV trope.
Okay, you know what? Never mind.
TV trope.
Back on track. The Descent into Midnight Kickstarter is launching February 15th, and we are so excited about it. Mm-hmm. You can hear more about the game on Series 18 of this very podcast. Mm-hmm. There are a ton of awesome people working on that project, including several folks who have been guests on this show. I know Ree, who was on our Magpies episode, is doing some of the accessibility help with the project. Devin, who did our Edifice episodes with us, is doing some of the art. I want to say that there are a couple other people, but I can't remember.
You know Tracy Burnett's helping?
Oh, yes. Tracy's doing some of the Kickstarter coordination stuff. Tracy was on our Iron Edda episodes. So it's very exciting. It's a game that Ryan and I both love so much. So please keep an eye out for that. I'm sure we will be tweeting and talking about it for the duration of the Kickstarter. So get used to it. We're not going to shut up about it. It's a very good game.
It's really, really good.
It's really good. It's so good, you guys.
Well, one thing I wanted to highlight was that fellow One Shot Network podcast, A Horror Borealis, and their parent podcast, The Cryptid Keeper, are doing a Patreon drive right now on the Cryptid Keeper Patreon. What's of interest to fans of that show is that at certain goals, we'll actually be able to hear some bonus episodes that take place in the world of A Horror Borealis. Which I am thoroughly excited to hear. So definitely check them out if you're interested as well.
As always, we love getting reviews. They make us feel so good. You can leave them for us at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Podchaser, and we will read them on an episode, like this one from Lieutenant from the United States on iTunes, titled, "So Nice, I Had to Review It Twice." I reviewed the podcast much earlier in the year on another platform, and am confident in saying Amelia and Ryan have continued to make me love their show. Genuinely great people and hosts. They interest me in every system they use. Yes, Amelia, even Heroes Unlimited. Okay, I went back and listened to those episodes, by the way, and oh man, my exasperation is palpable.
It's very choice.
And are a constant source of inspiration in my own character creation. They've also introduced me to some amazing systems, including some that I normally would not have checked out, and have contributed to many a source book now in my library. Keep up the great work, you two. I look forward to what you create next. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant.
We appreciate it. And I guess we'll allow this second review through our review filter. No, I'm just kidding. We read every review.
We do.
We really do. I'm really glad that you have now also contributed to the role-playing game economy by buying more books. I like to pretend that it's a business expense. That's what I tell myself when I buy more role-playing game books that I know I won't have time to play. It's a business expense.
So just start a podcast and buy the role-playing books and then write it off.
Right. Yeah, totally. I think that's how it works.
That's how that works, right?
Look, it's how I justify it in my mind. I'm not committing any kind of tax fraud, but I tell myself it's for work.
Well, with all of that out of the way, let's get on with the episode, shall we?
Enjoy.
Welcome back to our discussion episode, everyone. Last time we created characters for Lancer. This episode, we will be discussing the character creation process. We are very excited to welcome back Tom, one of the designers of Lancer. Unfortunately, Miguel was not able to join us for this episode, but you can hear Miguel on the first episode of this series. Tom, do you want to go ahead and reintroduce yourself again for everyone at home and tell us a bit about the character that you made in the last episode?
Yeah, I'm Tom Parkinson Morgan. I'm the author and writer and artist of the Image comic series Kill 6 Billion Demons, available in print and on the web. And also the co-writer of Monster. And the character I made is Lucius P. Abercrombie. His call sign is Keeps. His mech's name is Tangent Royal, and he drives around in a rather old-fashioned GMS Everest. It has a big old heavy machine gun, a bunch of missile racks, and a whole lot of grenades strapped to it. It's probably extremely unsafe. We've also discovered that he's got a cigar box and a cigarette lighter in his mech cabin. He's sort of the impromptu leader of this group, according to his talents. That's what we've learned. Oh, and a star.
Self-identified leader of the group.
Self-identified leader, yes, that's right. Yeah. I'm picturing him as sort of an older gentleman. Mm-hmm. Probably likes to tell you about the old days a little too much.
Back in my day.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you want to tell us about your character?
Yeah, absolutely. My character's name is Liliana Quintel, and her call sign is Rhapsody, and her GMS Everest mech is called Silent Crescendo, which I absolutely love.
It's very good.
Yeah, that's really good.
And she used to be a medic before joining up to pilot the mechs, and a little bit of the medic protecting people and saving people kind of transfers over to her mech piloting style of trying to get things done fast and protecting people by just getting up close and personal with the enemy. With two effectively laser swords.
3 swords.
Because, why not?
Yes.
You got 3 swords.
I've got 3 swords, yeah. So, yeah, it's
I got 2 hands, but I got 3 swords.
And one of the cool personalizations I have for the mech is when I am attacking with my swords, my mech sings like in otherworldly sort of, like the swords are singing.
Amazing.
How about yourself, Amelia?
I made a character. My pilot name is Monroe Parkhurst.
Nice.
My call sign is Valhalla. And then my mech name is Riskiest Assumption. So my character is the outlaw background. And then I decided that my mech is it looks like a piece of junk. It's not. It's in pretty good shape, but it looks like a piece of junk. It's covered in spikes. And one of the triggers I took was show off. So I just imagine that I just like to go in and make a mess. And the quickest way to do something is to just blow it up, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
That's awesome. So, let's go ahead and dive right into a segment that we are calling D20 For Your Thoughts.
D20 For Your Thoughts?
In this segment, we like to talk to our guests about their thoughts on character creation and how it relates to the system and other games. But first, we like to get to know you a little bit better. So we're going to ask the very cliche question. We're going to get it out of the way. Can you tell us how you got into RPGs in the first place? And I want to ask the follow-up of how you came into game design, too. We talked a little bit about it before.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I have played RPGs for a long time. I actually started playing D&D back when 3rd edition had recently come out. And a bunch of kids at my school played it and would play it after class and stuff, really surreptitiously, too, just around the back of wood shop, at the bleachers with dice and stuff, which was very weird. And of course, no one knows how to play D&D when you first start playing, and you're in middle school.
Yeah.
But I had a great time with it. I actually met a lot of people, a lot of my friends that way, and I actually met Miguel, my co-writer and my friend of about 17 or so years now, playing D&D in the 7th grade, which is great. Yeah, and so I just kept playing a lot of RPGs, mostly Dungeons and Dragons. and then the 4th edition D&D, and then 5th edition D&D when that came out. And then I branched out along the way into like things like Apocalypse World, and I played a bit of Savage Worlds with some friends, and I played some and ran some Blades in the Dark, which is probably my favorite game, which I really enjoyed. And I've always liked game design. I used to design board games. It was like one of my hobbies in high school. I just like write down board game design ideas and stuff, because I quite like game systems and trying to figure out, I don't know, like game what makes games fun or interesting or like cool to play for people, because I enjoy games a lot, but I also like to be critical about them and think about like what are the components of a game which make it interesting, what makes the experience of playing a game a good experience, and think very carefully about that and how to sort of represent that in a game. And so I started a lot with board games, but then I draw a comic book, which is my main job nowadays, and people would bug me about doing a RPG for the comic. So I was playing a lot of Apocalypse World at the time, and I was like, well, I should make a game based on Apocalypse World, because it's fairly easy to hack the game. So I ended up doing one for my comic, which I released on Patreon. It was actually got very good reception. I don't think it's a great PBTA hack, but I did finish it, and it did get me kind of interested in game design. And so I ended up writing Lancer with my longtime friend and then roommate, Miguel Lopez. And so we wrote together. And over a very long and public testing process, we ended up with something resembling a good game. So, but it wasn't initially. Yeah, but I learned a lot over the course of designing Lancer, actually, and of like writing it and thinking about like what works and doesn't work when it comes to making games. So I think I'm a much better designer now than when I started the process. It was definitely a long learning process. But yeah, that's sort of the long and the short of it. It's kind of to give you a good summary.
Very cool. Can you tell us about your personal process for picking and creating characters in any role-playing system?
Ooh, that's interesting. That's a good question too. I'm actually curious. I always like to. I do this a lot, and sometimes when I come on podcasts and I end up asking the host tons of questions and slowing the whole thing down. But how about for you guys? Like, I don't know if you touched on this before. Like, what are you guys very visual, or do you think about the idea first? Like, what comes to you when you first think about it?
I personally usually go off of like, what am I in the mood to play? Like, what kind of person do I want to embody when I sit down to do this? I think I make them very differently depending on whether it's a one shot or a campaign. Oh yeah. If it's a campaign, I get like real stressed out about it, and I'm like, these decisions are forever. Whereas if it's a one shot, it's like meh. And honestly, on this show, because we never have to play these characters, I will make all of the terrible decisions.
Good.
I'm a lot more careful in campaigns, but generally, yeah, I kind of think about like personality and their goals, because I'm much more of a narrative player.
Sure, yeah.
So then I kind of like pick skills that kind of fit that personality.
Okay.
Yeah, and for myself, I like to do the, I guess the goody-goody type characters.
Always.
But I've grown a lot. Now they're goody-goody, but a little bit naughty.
Yeah.
Except that one time that I created the most horrible person.
Yeah, which I'm still really proud of you for. You followed through.
Nice.
He broke me.
Yeah, since then you've been a lot better about it, because early on in our episodes, I like to give Ryan crap. Early on in our episodes, he was really bad about that. Like every character he made was like just the nicest. Whereas I love inter-party conflict, and so like all of my characters are like kind of backstabby. And Ryan is not about that, and so it was a lot of fun to see him try and make a little bit naughty.
Yeah. I do regardless of what I do, I like to create a character that's kind of could be a hero effectively.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess for my own answer, I tend to think of like concept first, like, and then see how that fits. Like in my Savage Worlds game I played in, it was a superhero game using the superhero rules for that thing. So I was like, oh, okay. So what, I like to learn the parameters, and I think about like, oh, what's the thing I want to do in that? So, and I always try to pick characters that have something interesting going on or some kind of motivation, and then kind of build to that. So like in that game I was playing in, it was a superhero game, and I'm like, what do I find really interesting as far as like superpowers? And I was like, well, I think like cloning or like duplication is like really interesting. So I looked and I made a character who was a duplicator who could make copies of himself, But the catch to his character was that he was pretty sure that he was just a copy that had been copied, and the original had died a long time ago. So he was like having a constant existential crisis.
I love it.
And like one of the quirks that he had with his superpowers, which is actually part of the game mechanics, was that he shared sensation with all his clones. And could like communicate with them, but also could like look through their eyes and feel what they're feeling and stuff. It had a little bit of a hive mind thing, but not really a hive mind. They're all separate people, but like he could feel what they're feeling. And of course, they were really expendable because they're clones. And so we'd constantly be getting into these fights, and it'd be like a giant robot, and he'd be like, go do deal with that, and the clone would go out and get like crushed and die. and later on, someone came up to him and was like, what happens to your clones when they die? He's like, oh no, they die. And I feel it. and like this is like someone who's like coping with that.
Oh no!
So
I've experienced my own mortality many times.
Right. So I always like to make characters that have something they're grappling with, or some kind of internal thing that's like driving them. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I tend to find that in games that are very character focused or a little more narrative, it works better. In some games like D&D, it doesn't always work because D&D doesn't really have room for that unless you make room for it. It's very much about like running around.
Yeah, the game itself doesn't do that. Like you can certainly bring it yourself, right, but it's not a feature of the game.
No, so like I made a character in my D&D game that someone's running right now, and I'm a player in, and I made a character who was very like morally minded. They were a paladin, and was like, no, we can't just kidnap this person. No, we can't just do this. And of course, D&D 5e being D&D 5e and players being players, like Party was doing all kinds of crazy, insane stuff all the time that my character had no approval for in the slightest, which totally, slowed the game down. And I was like, I was constantly being the person who was like, we can't do this, which is interesting if other players are willing to buy into that and have a conversation about it. But the players at my table weren't really interested in playing, or they didn't have as strong of like a role-playing concept as me.
Sure.
So I was constantly being the person that had a character that had like principles to a degree.
There's no room for that here.
In D&D. So then I made a lizard man who's really hungry all the time. That's his deal. And there you go. That works much better
That's awesome.
for that sort of game. So yeah, I guess that's my answer.
I want to know how you think character creation in this game stacks up against other games.
I wish it was a little more concise, because I love really simple character creation. I like the way Apocalypse World and those games handle it, where it's a sheet and you check boxes. Because it's so easy to onboard people. Lancer's a little bit more finicky. I mean, innately it kind of has to be, because mechs kind of has to be a thing where your character has a pilot component and a mech component. And so it has to be a little more complicated. And there are a lot of choices to make in Lancer too. So I wanted to very much limit the amount of choices you can take when you first get into the game, and then gradually introduce that. People often look at the game and they go, oh my god, it's like 440 pages of options. Well, it's not. It's like 3 pages of options at the first level, and then it's like 120 pages at higher levels, and then the rest of it is other rules and stuff. But so I think it's a fairly open system that I think manages to deal with the whole mech creation process fairly painlessly. I tried to get it there as much as possible. I think it's better than other like free-form point-buy systems that, in my experience, make you do a bunch of math. Like I tried to make a Mutants and Masterminds character once for a game someone was going to run, and it was a nightmare. It took me like 3 hours. I had to do math. I had to do calculators and just like.
Oh yeah, I don't do math.
God.
No.
Yeah, but I
have a liberal arts degree. I don't do math.
Inevitably, though, I think I'm pleased with how open it remains, and how you can kind of make a lot of character concepts very easily in the system. So,
I think for the amount that the book and you guys too talk about it being tactical, I think that it isn't as crunchy as I expected it to be. And I feel like this was a really good middle of the road kind of a thing. Because it still was in a lot of ways kind of doing the check boxes and that kind of stuff of like, okay, here's a list of weapons that you can have. Which one do you want? It was just, I think that there were more check boxes.
Yeah.
But it still felt like pretty, like I said, a lot less crunchy than I expected it to be given the genre and like.
Yeah. No math. Very little math.
Yeah, no.
And the thing is...
no, I can add 2 to things.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah. The thing is, I've always tried to... My philosophy of design is actually to make decisions discrete, communicated clearly what kind of decision you're making, right? And like what it is and what your choices are, right? Limited in scope to some degree, because people think they want choice, but they actually don't. What they want is limited choices, so a set of discrete, limited choices, and also impactful.
Yeah.
I think people want discrete, limited, impactful choices. Have you played D&D 4e? Have you made characters in that game?
No, that's the one of them that I did end up skipping.
4e actually is one of my favorite games design-wise, because it did a lot for the genre of role-playing games. Today I would look at it and criticize a lot of aspects about it, but one of the interesting things that it did was make the character choices you have into like these like powers that you could take, and that it was very clear what decisions you were making. But one of the things it didn't do correctly was that there was lots of stuff in a lot of 90s RPGs, which I think you mentioned, do this thing where they're like, there's so many character options which just boil down to like +2 to this or +1 to this or whatever. And it's so boring.
Heroes Unlimited, Ryan.
Like,
what?
Like, give me 5 less character options. Give me 2 character options, but each of them do something interesting. And I am asked to choose between the 2 of them. And that's a much more interesting decision. It's more fun.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's kind of my belief. And I think I've done it okay in lots of
ways. And
yeah, I think we talked about that when we did our Spire and our Heart episodes with, I think that was the thing that Grant talked about, was just having like fewer choices, but all of them be pretty evocative.
Yeah. I like Spire. Actually, here's the thing I think is great and it should be in more games. And the concept is the juice. The game should have the juice, you know?
Yes.
When you see a character option, you should say, "Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I want to learn more about that." As opposed to just
I don't remember like the exact wording of it, but I know it's one of their design philosophies is like good options that like you can't choose between.
Right. Yeah.
Which is I think really cool.
Yeah. It's boring to pick a +1 to something in this circumstance. It's more interesting to like pick an option which is like you're really good with every sword and you can cut someone's head off if you crit them. Whoa, what the hell? That's so great. Like that kind of stuff. That's interesting to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think that like, you know, you talk about not wanting so many skills. It's a thing that we've talked about on this show a number of times too, that I call like the analysis paralysis. Right. Is just like you look at this whole list and it's like, I don't even know where to start. I give up.
Well, it was very important to me to have limited choices when you first start playing the game because there's so many character options. But also something you'll notice, I mean, we'll probably talk about it with character advancement shortly, but it was very important to me that every single choice in the game was tied to flavor and was tied to a decision you could make by looking at something and getting a feel for it. Like, there are 4 mech manufacturers in the game, and if you look at them visually, you can understand what they're about innately, without having to understand any of the mechanics. And it was very important to me that I actually had that component to the game, and Miguel and I wrote all this flavor and all this art and stuff into the game, because then it made making a decision much easier. It really guides you to look at that and be like, that thing is what I want to play. That guy there, you know.
Well, and I think for new players, like anytime I sit down and look at a new system, I've gotten a lot better about it since doing this show because we have to look at a lot of new systems and I have to kind of absorb them quickly. But it would always take me a couple sessions to really figure out like what I'm doing and what all of these choices really mean. And so I think only having a couple choices when you first start lowers that barrier to entry for people too. It's not as overwhelming and it's easier to sit down and be like, I can learn about 3 things and then I'll worry about the rest of it when it's time.
The thing I don't like about a lot of games is they really heavily onboard stuff when they bring people on. Like D&D, for example, current edition of D&D, I know we'll talk about it a lot. It is like the biggest thing people play.
It's the gateway drug.
But if you try to get people to play a D&D with you, they'll just bounce off, because making a D&D character remains a tremendous pain.
Yeah.
Because there's all kinds of weird, antiquated stuff in character creation. You have to ask people to make all kinds of weird decisions, like innately, that end up being...
And especially if you haven't played the game before, you don't understand what that choice is about. Like, what does this do later on?
Yeah. So, in Lancer, I've tried to defray that somewhat by there being a step-by-step process of what do you think a character is good at? Here's 1, 2, 3 choices. But also... I wish I was better at it, and I wish I could do something like Spire or a PBTA character where I just had to check boxes and everything was there for me. That's so great. That's really, really good.
Yeah, one thing I really liked about the character creation in this system was picking all the pieces for the mech and even the character's equipment and whatnot felt very much like those old... like Mech Warrior games and Armored Core games.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And those are the big things that I had experience with growing up that made me absolutely love the mech genre.
Right.
So it wasn't so much watching anime that had mechs in it or cartoons or things like that. It was these games where you had all of these customizable options and stuff, and then seeing at level 0, like the array of options that you have, nothing like too overwhelming, was pretty fantastic.
The thing in the game too is like you're building a character, and it's not like you're buying equipment. Like that is your character. Yeah. And you can swap it out. Every mission you go on, you can pick different weapons and stuff. But like that's who your character is. And it has a great amount of freedom in Lancer to like build a character the way you want to build him. And that was very important to me. And very hard to balance. Yeah. So I wouldn't recommend it for everyone.
Awesome. So, there's not too many like quote unquote different types of characters in this game, but how did you come to the decision to do kind of this more open-ended sort of character creation instead of like you are the tank, you're the heavy hitter, and so on?
I like character systems that you can make interesting character builds in. I'm a big fan of that stuff. So I wanted to make a game that handled, your ability to like think creatively within a system to make a character that did a particular thing. But you also had the freedom to make decisions and do stuff that was like, this is cool for me. I like a game called Shadow of the Demon Lord. Have you?
I've heard an AP about that.
And I'm a huge fan of it. It's actually a big influence on Lancer. The accuracy difficulty system comes from Shadow of the Demon Lord's Boon Bane system. And in that game, you very much like Warhammer RPG, you start at level 0, and then you go from level 1 to 3, you pick a class. And I think you go from like 1 to 4, like 5 to 8 or something. So you basically pick a class like every 3 levels. As you level up, you don't stay the same class for very long. It's very, very discrete packages of class. So I was like, well, what if we do that? But you can just pick any class you like, and then you can pick it in any order and mix and match them. Because people kind of tend to do that anyway in character systems, right? They always tend to like, if you look at a lot of people who are playing like optimized, I'm doing big quotes for the audio listeners, optimized D&D characters, they always tend to be like multi-class characters. And the game is actually, the current edition of Dungeons & Dragons does not handle multi-classing very well. It's not very balanced. And a lot of games don't. A lot of games, people always look to optimize their characters by taking several different character options, And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to build a game where like you basically just pick the options that you want. Because that's how a mech game should be to me, is, very much like that Armored Core thing of like picking the things that I find really cool and using that to support a play style. And every mech in the game is doing a particular thing, and you'll read through the license, and it's its own discrete package of like, I am a cool, agile melee fighter, and all 3 levels of my license do that. And I can take as many as 1 of those, or as many as 3 of those, if I'm feeling like it. And that means you can, if you want to be a cool agile melee fighter, there are several flavors for you to pick from and mix and match at your discretion, basically. So that was important to me. There still are like discrete sort of types of mechs. And if you're looking into people who have been playing this game for a long time, there tends to be certain types of like very optimized, builds still. But you can play anything in this game from like, I want to be a super tanky mech that sits there and has like a big rotary cannon, or I know, Amelia, you might like, there's a mech that's it's on our, it's not actually in the core book, it's on our page, it's available for free, it's called the Zhang, and it's got a huge fist. And it's so big, you have to actually spend a turn just charging it up, like Captain Falcon style, before you can punch people. So that's kind of the way we've differentiated characters in that game. It's like the choices, and very much, it sounds a little cliche, but it's like the choices you make. It's the things you make during character creation that becomes your character, essentially.
So what does the process of character creation tell us about the game of Lancer?
Well, as you level up, you get license levels, and that's actually represented in the game by you getting another license or license level or level of access. And we choose to keep it very abstract. It's not actually like, it could be a literal license that you have, which I think it is by default, but it could also just represent like access to information, resources, requisition, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to, it's just whatever you have available for your character, you always have access to it now, no matter what. And we don't have to worry about tracking currency or anything in the game, right? There's no currency in Lancer, there's no like money to track. You just get the stuff.
Yeah, because that would be math.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, no math. So you just have the stuff you have. And so each character level represents discrete stuff that you want to incorporate into your character. And then you get better at triggers, you get more grit, which increases your HP and attacks and all that stuff. And then eventually you can start picking core bonuses, which is kind of a loyalty program thing. So there are 4 manufacturers. If you pick 3 in one manufacturer, you get a cool bonus you can pick.
Oh, cool.
But I think it kind of tells you directly like how your character is like moving through the universe and the kind of things they're picking up, and the things they're getting better at. So it's kind of cool. I like how it plays out. Yeah,
has a lot of good flavor to what you can expect flavor-wise with playing the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to ask a really mean question now.
Yeah, tell me what's up.
What do you think is one of the biggest flaws of character creation here?
Oh, definitely the amount of decisions I'm asking you to make on character creation, I think is still a little too high. And I wish there was a way to streamline it. I haven't figured one out. I've tried. and I like I said, I really wish I could keep it a little simpler and make it more of a easy choice by choice thing. I mean, maybe if I had a choice, I would say, don't even get into your mech and level, the first session, just do your pilot stuff, then make a mech afterwards to kind of, onboard people slowly. Because it can be overwhelming. It's a new system. It doesn't play exactly like any other system out there. So there's lots of things that people kind of have, like people always ask me, where's the skill list? And I'm like, there's no skill list, guys. Hold on.
Yeah.
I said, that's a bit, there's a lot of like mental baggage that you have to get over to play the game in the first place. So I hate that I front load. It's one of the things I hate about RPGs, like front loading all that.
Yeah.
Information on you. So,
are there like templates in the book, like for like some of the, like the specifics of the mechs?
I intended.
I don't remember.
I intended to put pre-made characters in there, but I just didn't end up doing it.
Yeah, that's fair.
That would have been easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't, obviously, based on the podcast, like I don't necessarily like using like a pre-gen kind of a character,
sure,
but I know that like, so like for the backgrounds, I had some of those like triggers kind of listed in like, here's suggested things.
Right.
And so like, I felt like that kind of, it was like, oh, okay, these are the things that go with
I maybe should have put some like example builds in there. I feel like I kind of actually skipped that over somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and
I'm thinking through.
When I was going over the triggers, they felt very much like aspects in Fate.
Oh, sure, yeah. I like that though about that game.
Yeah, it had a very good feel to that. So the lack of skills and stuff like that, it doesn't require as much uploading of information right up front because it's just like you get to interpret it.
There is a very discrete separation between narrative play in Lancer and combat. And also the ways you advance and the ways the capabilities your character has in both fields, because I didn't want them to tie into each other. I want them to be separate because you want your character to be cool at narrative stuff and you also want them to be good at fighting.
Because you do get out of your mech once in a while.
Yeah, but you don't want the decisions you make about your narrative play to be weighted equally with the decisions you make about your fighting capability, because you're going to be expected to fight. That's part of the game. So it was very important to me to separate the two. So in a way that did actually kind of bloat the character creation a little bit. I tried separating it. I tried combining it at one point, but you ended up with weird things like that, like, you know, brash physical pilots always had really tough mechs for some reason, and you couldn't play against type, you know, to some degree. And I didn't like that at all. So we kind of have the system we have now.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't mind it being two distinct things. I felt like it was, especially because there wasn't a whole lot of choices to make about the pilot, that it was pretty quick. Yeah. And so it didn't feel
It was, if you can
bloated.
believe it, even more sparse in the past. And people actually asked for a little more fleshed out pilot stuff.
I could believe that. I could see it. Is there something here that you're particularly proud of that you feel like you've done really well in this game?
Definitely balancing this game has been a nightmare because there's so many character options. And people will find the craziest ways to break your game, like completely unintended interactions and stuff, and you have to account for it. But it's been very rigorously playtested, and I can thoroughly say it is a very enjoyable tactics game with a lot of character options, and like the characters feel very powerful and impactful, and combat feels pretty dangerous, and it's a lot of fun to play. So I'm very proud of that. Definitely.
Very cool. So this is a genre that has a lot of history and a lot of media attached to it. Are there parts of that you specifically wanted to capture in this game, or things that you specifically wanted to leave out?
So, like, the funny thing is, like, I didn't really consume much mech media before writing Lancer. I played the old Mech Warrior on the Xbox back in the day, which was really fun. I played Armored Core, which I enjoyed a lot. I played a tiny amount of Titanfall, but I think a demo of it back in the day. And I really like Gurren Lagann, which is a mech anime. But that's about it. Like, it's really literally all the mech sort of related media that I had consumed prior to making the game. So for me, it was more about writing a cool sci-fi game to a degree.
Okay.
I do like mech media, though, how it becomes a thing of like it is a good medium for like RPG stories, because by nature the mech is like an oversized hero figure. You know, it's like you're a god kind of, and you know you have the power. It's literally power personified in a thing. You know, it's like an armor. And I think mech media is at its best when it's kind of either examining that in a critical way or interesting way, or like Evangelion, for example, or when it's like really playing into that, or kind of kind of like enforcing that like hero fantasy to a degree. A lot of mech media tends to be like sort of war media in general. Think about war, like a lot of Gundam. Good Gundam thinks about that stuff. So I think it was important to represent that too. I think Miguel could probably talk more to that, him being the writer for the game and stuff. But I think it was important for him to think about how to contextualize the fact that mechs are like war machines. You know, they're not for like peaceful conflict resolution. Yep, they are very much for fighting. And so how do we think about the game is obviously about violence, and we don't want that to be unexamined to a degree. And so the game has a lot of thoughts about, what mechs should be doing and the violence your pilots are committing. And it kind of, like I said, it makes you think about your cool robot and what you're actually doing with it. Quite a lot.
Okay, so this is my favorite part of the show. This is the fan fiction section,
nice. Excellent.
where we get to talk about our group and how we think we would fare and how this game would go.
Oh, excellent. I have some tables we could roll on if you'd like.
We love random tables.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
please.
I love it. Okay. Let me have a look, see if I can find it for you all. Let's see. Where's our first one? Yeah, here you go. So if we go to page 40 of the core book, there's a little first session set of tables that you can roll on to figure out like who your characters are, what some history might be between them and stuff.
I like
So,
that.
do you want me to roll in the first one here? Let's figure out who our...
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes.
All right, let's do this. So I got a 9, which means we are devotees of a higher power. Ooh.
All right.
What kind of higher power do you think we serve? That's interesting.
Oh, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I got a follow up here. There's the next page. There's a patron table.
Oh.
So someone else should roll, and then we can find out what's in that one.
Okay.
You want to grab this one?
Who's our patron?
Yeah, where it's what am I rolling here?
D20?
1d20.
D20. Okay. I got a 9.
Our ancient martial code or law, our duty, is our patron.
Oh.
So maybe we're
interesting.
sort of like space paladins
Okay.
or something
Well,
like that.
there you go, Ryan.
Yep, that fits very well with my character concept.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which makes it really interesting that you're an outlaw,
Yeah, that's true.
or you
Yeah.
used to be an outlaw.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just serving time.
There you go. Yeah, maybe it's not entirely voluntary.
This is my community service.
There you go. Yeah. That's right. That's
All
pretty
right.
fun. And then if you want to do some personal history, you can
Yeah.
roll a d20 on the table and you can ask a question. So, for example, I rolled an 8 here, and my question is, oh, this is interesting. Which of you taught me everything I know about building mechs?
Ooh.
Apparently, my character didn't build mechs before. And then you can answer and be like which one?
Oh, I think it was me.
Yeah,
I think it
that
was.
makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense to
I
me.
mean, I think mine is largely built out of spare parts.
Right,
So
right. There you go. So you taught my character how to actually put mechs together.
yeah, but now you think you're in charge.
Right, exactly.
I like that.
You guys should roll on that table too
All
and
right,
see what you got.
I will roll one here.
All right.
I got 15. Which of you is the most curious about me?
Huh.
Good question. I think it's probably your character, Ryan, because I feel like my character might know her a little better, or might know him a little better. Because is your character?
I did not pick. We'll say
okay.
I am. We'll use she/her pronouns.
Sure, yeah. So
Yeah, I would say my
maybe-
character's probably the most curious.
more curious, yeah.
Like, this outlaw is now in our organization, fighting for this higher power
Right.
for an ancient martial code or law for like a duty.
I feel like maybe my sort of headcanon here is that my character was in this organization and was like, oh, I want to learn how to build a mech. Then we have an outlaw like in the brig somewhere who knows how to build mechs.
Yes.
Hey, if you come, I'll let you out if you teach me how to build a mech and you do a little time with us. Like maybe that's a deal we cut at some point. And
That's
maybe your
really
character.
I gotta get my hours in, and then then I'll be out of here.
Uh-huh. I like that.
Do you want to roll, Amelia? See what you got on the table.
Oh, I think Ryan
Yep,
has to go.
my turn
Oh,
now.
sorry, that's right. Yeah.
Ooh. I rolled a 1. Which
Ooh.
of you did I grow up with?
Well, it's probably my character.
That makes a lot of
Right.
sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So are we related,
I
or
don't know, it's
is
a
it
good
more of a maybe like a mentorship program
How
or
old
something?
is your character, do you think?
I'm guessing quite young, like early
Yeah.
20s probably.
Yeah, maybe you grew up in this like martial order, this holy martial order we're in, as an acolyte early on.
That makes
or
sense.
something. Yeah. And then that's how we know each other.
I like that.
Yeah.
I want to know, what is this code we're fighting
What
for?
is this code we're fighting for? That's what I want to know. Is this like...
Do we even
Bushido?
know?
Yeah, do we even know? That's a good question.
That's ooh.
But that kind of makes it more of an ominous type thing instead of something hopeful and optimistic.
Well, you don't know. It might be very nice. Maybe we just want to save the elephants.
Are we a conservationist group?
We fight against any and all mech poachers.
Space poaching.
Space poachers, yep. Wow.
But we also serve a higher power.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean a deity.
That's very true, yeah.
I mean, maybe that higher power is just the world wildlife.
That's true. I don't know. The future equivalent of it. Yeah, there you go. Conservationists.
Yeah.
An order of martial conservationists.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
There you go.
With giant missiles and
save the
grenade
pandas
launchers.
or else.
Yeah, there you go. Does that make your character a poacher then, Amelia?
I mean, probably.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, what a bummer.
That's why I like including random tables, that kind of thing, because you can instantly make a little narrative up with just a few dice rolls, which is really fun.
Yeah.
I like the idea that it's like, look, it's you or the pandas here. So
Yeah, I really like this this random personal history table too.
You can do that. You can do like missions. You can generate like environments and stuff too in the game. Got a few tables for that.
yeah, I like the missions. I was looking over some of those. Those are pretty cool. Okay, let's decide here. I'm gonna roll on this mission table.
okay.
We're gonna decide what we'd be doing. 11. Attack a hostile defensive position to destroy a key objective.
Oh, okay, wow.
I mean, it's probably some kind of animal testing place.
Right.
That makes sense.
There we go.
Or some kind of like, I don't know, oil pipeline. Do they still use oil?
In space? In
Probably not.
Luxor? No, they don't use it.
It's probably like helium or something.
Yeah. There is smuggling and outlaws and the fringe areas of space, that kind of thing. So
It's probably like maybe some space mining.
yeah, maybe there's like a refinery that is like run by some, nefarious PMC that is like polluting the environment. We have to destroy it before it makes all the space pandas go extinct.
Oh yeah.
I like this narrative.
That's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
Yeah, gosh, I love random
Could
tables.
could run the game
love
now
them
really
so
easily.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But we don't do that here.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to know too, like, given what we have for our characters here, would we be any good at this?
I think we give it the best shot. Definitely. The characters at level 0 in Lancer, they're pretty capable, but they're not like, superpowered gods.
Yeah.
You're a rookie,
Yep.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we have to destroy something, I'm all over
Yeah, we're
it.
probably all right with that. We can probably do that.
Yeah.
I think we can do that just fine.
and I do have a high interest in stealth too. So if we needed a person to infiltrate stealthily, I could do that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And you have 3 swords. So.
And
swords,
I've actually got 4 technically.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I have a
Does
personal
your pilot have a sword too?
Yep. Yes,
right.
she does.
That's what they call her, 4 swords. But the mech's only got 3 swords. That's right. When you see the 4th one, it's too late.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Perfect.
All right. Well,
Nice.
let's go ahead and get into our advancement discussion then.
Oh, nice.
In a segment that I love to call "Take It Up a Level."
Take it up a level. Take it up a level.
Nice.
So, how do we think characters change as people within the narrative of the game?
The thing is, the game doesn't concern itself overly much with the role-playing side of your character, although it gives you lots of hooks to do so. It doesn't actually mechanize any of that. In terms of the characters changing as people, they become more competent and have a lot more resources, and that's kind of a fun narrative, I suppose. Everyone becomes more like a veteran. You get more grit, you get more triggers, better triggers, and you have more access to mechs, and you can build like more complicated and interesting mechs. So I think you do get that sense of like becoming an ace, you know, to a certain degree.
And I think more individualized too, as you add all of those things to your mech and your character.
Definitely. The game does have a downtime system, and the downtime actions, some of them do actually build on each other, which is quite fun. So you can build some fun narratives out of just like continually going back into downtime and figuring out, like, you can like start organizations, or you can learn a skill, or you can do stuff like that. So that often creates a lot of cool character hooks for building your character out. But we don't have any like direct things that cope with like personal growth or anything in the game.
And then how does leveling up work? We've talked a little bit. We've kind of just like hinted at it a little bit. But when you increase your license level and do all of that, what mechanically happens, and how does it change things? So it's really simple. So when you level up a Lancer, you add +2 to any trigger, or you pick a new trigger at +2. You get 1 talent point spent on any talent. And you get 1 license point to spend on any license you like in the entire book, which can get pretty daunting. But we'll do an experiment right now. I want you guys to go to the start of the compendium, which is on page 108. Or you can go to page 123, actually. Tell me when you're there. Okay.
Yeah, let me know in the core book. You good?
I'm there.
Yeah? And all I want you to do is just flip through the book and just tell me which mechs look really cool. And just tell me what interests you about them. That's it. Just flip through and just tell me what you think in the compendium. You can go as fast or as slow as you like. Just stop when you hit something really cool. Actually, that's what we'll do. Find something cool and stop right there.
Metal Mark?
Striker? Yeah, the Metal Mark. Yeah. So when you level up, you pick a license. You pick the first level in any of these licenses, and it'll give you the 2 pieces of gear there. When you pick the second one, it'll give you the frame, so you can actually switch mechs from the Everest, and you can pick something else. The Metal Mark is from Smith Germano Corpora, which is, as you can see, the corporation for people who like to drive sports cars that have swords.
Oh, yeah.
And they're focused on agility as a corporation, and stealth, like hyper accurate weapons, big sniper rifles, that kind of thing. They're very fast, very evasive mechs. The Metal Mark in particular, if you'll read through the systems, can turn invisible, which is very powerful. So it's sort of a stealth fighter mech. And this is kind of what you do as you level up. You just like find the stuff that's cool, and you get levels in it, and then you can mix and match that stuff. So now, when you level up, you can take Metal Mark license level 1, and you will be able to put flash charges and the reactive weave on your Everest. So now you can play an Everest that has something that no one else can take, because you've got that license level. So it starts to customize it further. If you take a second level in Metal Mark, you can now get in the Metal Mark. And you can also put a rail rifle and a shock knife on there, so on and so forth. Or you can take the Everest and put the rail rifle on the Everest. So on and so forth.
Interesting.
So it's just a process of like finding the stuff that's cool and picking it and kind of mixing and matching to make a really powerful mech.
Yeah.
What did you find, Amelia? Did you find anything cool?
Well, there's a lot in it.
I saw a really spiky one on 211.
Oh yeah.
The Manticore.
Oh, the Manticore, yeah. The Manticore is from Horus. Horus is the hacking mech company that focuses on like systems and e-warfare. But the nature of hacking in Lancer is a bit weird. And they have a lot of stuff that bends causality and time and other things in space. So you can hack someone's mech and make them teleport. The Manticore in particular is kind of a kamikaze mech. So it has lightning. It has these huge lightning spines, and it can shoot lightning out of it all the time. And whenever it's actually destroyed, it blows up in an enormous explosion.
Wow.
And you'll notice that all the flavor text in the Manticore's systems are quotes from the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Oh. Wow.
So it's sort of like playing a very angry paladin.
Yeah.
Playing in a Manticore.
There's some really good things in here.
It's great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, I pointed out the Vlad before. The Vlad is a big spiky IPS North Star mech that you might enjoy, Amelia, which is a kind of a tanky mech.
Yeah, I was looking at that one before.
Yeah, and it's got a nail gun, and it can literally nail other mechs to the ground.
Yeah, I want that.
Yeah. So if you pick up the Vlad, when you level up to LL1, you will get the impact lance and the webjaw snare. And the webjaw is like a big trap, like a bear trap, mech-sized bear trap you throw out.
Oh.
And the impact lance is literally a gun that's a melee weapon. It's like an energy lance that fires one shot off, and it can penetrate through multiple mechs.
Oh, wow.
And so it's basically, it's based on poking things with very, very spiky melee weapons. And then in LL2, you can climb in the Vlad, and then you can pilot that bad boy around and make all your game masters very upset when they have lots of little enemies attack you.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's kind of how the game works. It's just like finding cool, and of course, each one of these mechs is only 3 license levels, so inevitably you'll take more and more of them.
Mm-hmm.
And mix and match them, and you can get some truly ludicrous stuff in this game. You can really go crazy. And
there's so much art in this book
Yes.
that it's really easy to flip through and be like, oh, I want that. I mean, because that's really what we did here. Is I was like, that one's spiky.
Yeah.
I want it.
Yeah.
So
I think it's really easy to kind of pick, even if you don't read through
Yeah.
everything, to look at it and be like, oh, this is the vibe that I want.
Yeah, like if you flip to page 247 for me, real quick. You see that guy? That is
almost. Oh, yes.
That's the Harrison Armory Sherman. So without me even telling you what that guy's about, what do you think that guy's about? What do you think his deal is?
looks like artillery.
Yeah.
Like heavy ranged.
Yeah, he's got a big laser.
Mm-hmm.
His head is a laser.
Oh, wow.
So that's the benefit of having a very art-heavy book, is people can just flip through and immediately be like, yeah, that guy looks like a gun platform. That seems great.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So if you hit license level 6, you could theoretically have 2 fully outfitted mechs to choose from.
That's right,
and mix and match.
You can mix and match. So you could combine systems and stuff from any of those mechs together to make truly what is quote unquote, your mech build.
Yeah, or you could just slap a bunch of random stuff onto your primary, your initial mech.
There are people who make some really fun builds. I mean, there's a mech called the Lancaster, which you can ride around like a horse.
Ooh.
And people have made some great builds where there's another mech called the Goblin, which can clamp onto another mech like a sort of symbiote and boost it. And so you can have a mech clamped onto a mech riding another mech. And I'm not sure how efficient it is, but it is very fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And obviously, if you can do dumb stuff like that, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, but the thing is, the game, it's not like it's a niche thing that I would say, don't go into that because you're making a weak character. That's a pretty strong combination, and it works very well in the game.
Yeah.
And the game supports that, and encourages you to make crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for the plethora of options that there are, it seems like it doesn't put you on a track the way a lot of other games do, where it's okay, I've picked this option, and it doesn't feel like skill tree sort of thing, where it's if I want this, and then now I can't have that because it doesn't make sense.
There is one thing in the game which is slightly limiting, which is the core bonus thing, which is every 3 levels you take with a certain company, you can take a bonus, but you need 3 levels from that company, so it's like a loyalty thing. So if I had 3 levels in Smith Shimano Corpro, I could take a Smith Shimano Corpro core bonus. And if you have them slightly mismatched like that, you can't take exactly the ones you want. But there is a general Massive Systems one that everyone can take every 3 levels anyway, so you don't exactly miss out. So there is some degree of if I am more loyal to this corporation, then I'll get more, more benefits from that.
That's awesome.
But that's only to encourage people to think about builds in a particular way.
Mm-hmm. I like how that has kind of an in-universe connotation of
Yeah.
corporations know how to make their systems more compatible with themselves.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Well, and it's important to get all, to fill out your punch card.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got to get like that discount later on.
Right. Every 3 stamps, you get a free mech part. That's how it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, so that's how you level up in Lancer. And the thing is, you make very discrete decisions, one decision at a time, so it's a lot easier when you level up. People that try making high-level characters in Lancer, it's kind of a nightmare because you're picking all these things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's actually a lot easier with CompCon, I will say. Try messing around with CompCon. You can make some really fun characters.
Yeah, I use CompCon for the character creation in these episodes, and it was surprisingly, once I figured out where everything was, it's very, very easy to just hop into a thing and look at the options and just pick what I needed to. And it even limited the options when I didn't have enough points or whatever.
Eventually, that game will also have a encounter builder for the GM to track and keep all this stuff, and it will have live the ability to like take that onto your phone and just do it live and all that stuff.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
And it has an amazing name generator. That's probably the most important thing.
Yes, I mean, that's honestly...
The name generator...
It's worth it just for that.
Yeah, even if you don't use the names, it gives you the flavor of names in this world.
Oh, yeah.
And you can easily come up with something based upon that, which I really like. Yeah.
Actually, it was funny because we didn't have anything to do with the name generator. We never touched it, but the person who made it, John Arena, who's a great developer, he just stuffed a lot of stuff in there, and he hit the tone exactly. So we didn't have to tell him anything. He pretty much nailed it from the get-go. So.
That's awesome.
So good.
So I think the only thing we didn't exactly explicitly cover for advancement was how do you gain a level?
Oh, this is actually, so in Lancer, like I said, the game is structured around doing a mission, downtime, mission. Ad hoc, et al, until you finish. And when you finish a mission in Lancer, you level up. Nice. Even if you're successful or not successful, when the mission is over and completed and you return to your base or wherever you are, you still level up.
Awesome.
It was important to me that, leveling up in Lancer is based on sessions played, basically, and running through missions and deciding. Because one of the things in Lancer, one of the things the game actually asks you explicitly to do when you embark on a mission is think about the goal and the stakes involved. It firmly and mechanically says, determine this before embarking on a mission. And so when those stakes or the goal have resolved or are no longer relevant, something plays out, then you level up. So and I didn't want to tie it to success because, if you fail and you've done this whole thing, you don't get to level up.
You didn't learn anything.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And there's no XP tracking or anything. You just level up whenever you do a mission. Pretty simple. 12 missions, that's it.
That's awesome. I also like the if you fail at the mission, you still level up, meaning you get access to better equipment and better because
you can flavor that as like
resources.
You guys we're going to give you some more stuff and you better succeed this time.
Yeah. Obviously, we under-equipped you last time, so.
Right. Yeah.
I like that. Very cool.
Yeah, there's a reason there's a downtime action which is called Bison Time. And the only thing it does is forestall whatever inevitable doom is coming your way. Which is pretty good.
That's amazing.
I love that. I'm just going to put it off till later. It's fine.
That's called procrastination.
Yes. It's mechanized procrastination. There you go.
Well, then this is the game for me.
Perfect.
Well, we did it. We made characters. We talked about them. This was good fun. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I like this game a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. No, like I honestly, I think I told you in the emails that I've heard nothing but good things from my friends, and yes, it lived up to my expectations.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope you'll check it out and get to maybe play a session or two. And at the very least, you should mess around with CompCon and make some characters because it's very fun. I said, I don't have it installed on this computer, but I've played around with it before, and it's super fun. It's a good time.
Yeah, I made it really, really easy.
And the game is out in PDF form right now. In fact, we'll be releasing an update for it probably this weekend. That will be the print parody update. And then we'll be printing copies for Kickstarter backers that will ship in March, and then you'll be able to probably purchase a physical copy via our website, which will definitely be up by then. But for now, you can find...
I wish everyone could see the look on your face as you say that.
Yeah.
Or else.
No, we've been putting things off because we're focused on just getting the print copy out there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I know that, like, fulfillment on Kickstarters is like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds... It just... I don't know. It gives me chest pain.
We were very fortunate to make enough money to be able to pay someone to do it for us because...
Nice.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. I would not want to manually ship 7,000 books, especially that size.
Oh my god. No.
Yeah.
No, yeah, not 400 some page. No, where would you keep those?
Yeah, I already have like 600 comic books in my office right now that my wife is telling me to get rid of. But
yeah, if you brought those home too, it's probably she'd move out.
Yeah, no, she would. Yeah, she'd be like 100%.
Amazing.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Lancer. Can you remind everybody where they can find you and what sort of things you're working on?
Yeah, you can find me at on Twitter at Orbital Dropkick. You can find me at my webcomic at Kill 6 Billion Demons, and also patreon.com/Kill6BillionDemons. Yeah, there's like I draw a whole comic. That's actually my main gig, and you should read it. If you like Lancer, you should check it out. I hear it's pretty good. There's like almost 500 pages of it up there, and it's free. So just go read it.
Amazing.
There's also 3 print editions with Image Comics, which you can buy in most comic shops. Go to your local comic shop that you can also find on Amazon, Barnes & Noble if you feel like it. And then finally, you should check out Miguel. He's on Twitter at _1_Lopez. And you can find us at Massif Press on Twitter, and Massif-Press at itch.io is our main site. If you just Google Lancer or Massif and it's Massif, you'll usually find us.
Very cool.
And we'll put links to all of it in the show notes.
Oh, sweet. Fantastic.
Everybody. Yeah.
Just go to the show notes. It'll all be there.
We should just say that every time.
Yeah, right.
People, like, list all of their stuff, and we're
Perfect.
like, it'll be in the show notes. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah.
Very
Sweet.
cool.
Well, yeah, cheers.
Yeah, thank you again so much for sitting down to do this with us. And thank you to everybody for tuning in. We will see you next time.
Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter at CreationCast or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Amelia Antrim, and I can be found on Twitter at Ginger Reckoning or on my other podcast, Garbage of the Five Rings. Our other host, Ryan Bolter, can be found on Twitter at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Amelia Antrim. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can be found in the show notes. If you'd like to leave us a rating or review, we have links to various review platforms out there, including Apple Podcasts, in our show notes. Also check the show notes for links to our other projects. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time. Now we gotta read some show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs. Character Creation Cast is hosted by the One Shot Podcast Network. If you enjoyed our show, visit oneshotpodcast.com, where you'll find other great shows like Design Doc.
Join hosts Hannah Schaefer and Evan Rowland as they redesign a role-playing game. Design Doc is an experiment in public participatory analog game design. It's fun, it's messy, and you're invited along for the ride.
I did it.
All right, we did it.
I did it too.
Oh my
I
god.
was there in spirit with all of you.
Thank you for thinking of us.
That's okay.
I'm trying to balance between being able to hear my washer and dryer in the background and being able to hear myself. That's okay. I think that's fine. I should be all right.
I believe.
All right, I forget. I'm orange, right?
Ryan.
It's been a while.
We just recorded like on Sunday, didn't we?
Yeah, but we use weird colors and I don't know.
We just used a different shade of orange, Ryan.
It's more brown.
Okay. Whatever you say, dear. All right.
Weird ass space. Oh, sorry. Can I say the word ass?
Okay, so should we do the sign off then now and then hop back to making people?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay.
We'll just go down here and then you can move it around.
Okay. Very cool. All right. So now we'll do editing magic. We can keep recording.
Perfect.
Awesome. And I'm back.
Hey.
I am going to see if I can not break my microphone positioning and put on my little foamy things. I don't know what to do, black or blue.
Ooh, blue. That's
Blue?
nice blue. Yeah,
All right.
big fan.
Let's see if it fits. Hey. Now it looks cool. Yeah, that works. Come on, stop falling down. This thing is so precarious. Like, I don't know how to tighten it anymore, but like, it's tight just enough where if I don't touch it, it doesn't rotate forward. So I don't know. This was the cheap Amazon like microphone arm.
Yeah.
And it's done its job, is all I can say. But it's had the weight of a Blue Yeti on it.
Oh, nice.
Just like a 5-pound mic.
Yeah. I will send you guys probably the like jankiest character sheet possible. It's gonna be great. When we do this character creation, do you want to go through using the core book? Would that be preferable to you?
Yeah, the core book. I think probably because I downloaded the CompCon thing, and since it's an official part of creating characters, I don't see why we shouldn't use it.
Yeah.
But I have no idea where to start, which is fine.
It's okay. Yeah, it might be worthwhile if we go through it using the book, but then you can enter information into CompCon. I think that'll let you.
I think that's a good
export
idea.
A character sheet. So yeah.
Oh,
and I'm just
interesting.
gonna. I assume I'm making a character with you guys, so
yes, absolutely.
Fun. I'm gonna do mine on like lined paper, and it's gonna be
nice,
janky.
Nice. Yeah. What we usually do is we'll create a group of characters. Sans a GM, like we're all acting as the GM effectively.
There you go.
And then we figure out why we're a group.
Well, I've got some tables for us.
I like that.
Perfect.
I like it when the systems do our job for us.
Oh yeah, it's really easy.
Mm-hmm. I really like this.
Thank you. Yeah, our layout artist is Jay Isles, and she did a spectacular job.
Very nice.
Really great job.
I've been seeing a few games, like a lot of Kickstarters have been, a while ago that I supported, and then now things are coming to fruition, and I'm seeing them, and I'm like, oh, I've got a lot of work to do on my game.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, the game did not look like this for a long time, so don't worry. Mm-hmm. It was basically a unformatted like Word document with like headings and stuff, and people played it like that for a long time. So
yeah,
you can actually find earlier versions of the game out there on the web. You can probably search back as far as like 1.4 or something, which was like 10 versions ago.
Oh wow!
Which is not a game I'd recommend playing, but it's there.
Yeah,
and had some different ideas.
My game started in September of 2017, I believe.
Oh, cool.
And the first version I got playable within a month.
Oh, nice.
And it was garbage.
Oh, yeah. As it is.
Uh-huh.
I have a very good story for you guys, which is that I initially had like a point buy system, and point buy was for everything in the game. And so you could build a mech that you could get rid of, and you could get like things, kind of a la like other point buy games that like you could strip out reactor shielding from your mech, and you could like take its legs off and stuff. And so what people did is they did all these like downside things. And then they didn't take any other systems, and all they would do is cram as many guns into their mech as possible. You had like the infamous ball of knives mech, which was just like 12 knives coming out. It was just ridiculous. I had to fix that pretty early, but yeah. Very fun.
That's awesome.
I had to put my kids to bed because Eleanor had slipped a note under my door that said, "Is it bedtime yet?"
Wow, that's very responsible of her.
That's a whole mood, but bedtime isn't until 8. It's only 7:45. So I was like, I don't know, get in your bed if you want to, I guess.
Yeah.
You do you, man. I don't
Very
know.
nice.
Oh, kids.
They apparently needed tea.
What?
Tea? This time of night?
My throat is dry.
Oh, okay.
I need some tea. A dash of honey, please.
I mean, honestly.
If you're going to have a dry throat, might as well take care of it the proper way. All right, and that's where I will, I'll make a little snaps, so I know where I'm going to go. It doesn't matter because I'm right at the end anyway. Aren't you?
Yeah. Do you want me to stop the audio on my side and then start the recording?
Let's do that. Let's go ahead and stop and then save this. And here we go.
Okay.